I wasn't going to talk about this as I don't ever cover gaming news, but as this is a game that I play and like, and I'm stressing the word like here because if you make a video criticizing something, people just assume you hate it. But I also made other videos talking about Hunt Showdown, and I feel like this is something I really wanted to talk about. So last week, Crytek posted this on their official X account. If you've already read this, you could just skip this to the timestamp I provided. If not, I'm just going to read this now. Like so many of our peers, we aren't immune to the complex, unfavorable market dynamics that have hit our industry these past several years. It pains us greatly to share today that we must lay off an estimated 15% of our around 400 employees. The layoffs affected development teams and shared services. This has not have been an easy decision to make, as we deeply appreciate the hard work of our talented teams. After putting development of our next Crisis game on hold in Q3 of 2024, we have been trying to shift developers over to Hunt Showdown 1896. While Hunt Showdown 1896 is still growing, Crytek cannot continue as before and remain financially sustainable. Even after ongoing efforts to reduce costs and cut operating expenses, we have determined that layoffs are inevitable to move forward. Crytek will offer affected employees severance packages and career assistance services. We firmly believe that future of Crytek with Hunt Showdown. We have a very strong gaming service and remain fully committed to its operation. We will continue to expand and evolve Hunt Showdown 1896 with great content and drive our strategy to our engine, CryEngine. Now, if I were to translate this from corporate speak, I would say the re-release of Hunt Showdown 1896 didn't make us enough money. The battle passes we've been pushing in Hunt Showdown 1896 aren't making us enough money, and the skins we've been making haven't been making us enough money. I touched on this in a previous video on how we will never know the sales of these battle passes and skins, but it seems that they basically just told us what those sales have been, and I'm guessing they haven't been good, as ever since Hunt Showdown released, they haven't been putting out anything else, and the skins and battle passes have probably been the only way they've been making money. And you would think that if Hunt Showdown wasn't making them enough money, they would switch gears in order to make money by putting out Crisis 4 faster, but instead they doubled down and pulled all of their staff off of Crisis 4 to work on Hunt Showdown and put the game on hold since the Q3 of 2024. I stated this before in other videos that I was worried about how a small company like Crytek could juggle a live service game like Hunt Showdown and work on a new game altogether, and it seems that the answer is that they're just not going to, as they froze development to focus on Hunt. I saw a lot of people on X stating that this was probably the obvious move, as they've been making most of their money from Hunt. And all I have to say to that is, yeah, they have been making most of the money off Hunt because they haven't put out a new title in years. Recently, all they've done is re-release titles. They've re-released the remastered series of Crisis games and the re-released Hunt as 1896. And yes, they've made a lot of their money off of skins and battle passes, but that's more of a marathon than a race. After 6 years of putting out nothing and 6 years of putting out just skins and battle passes, of course they'd make a lot of money, more than the initial release of Hunt. So after 6 years, yes, they have made a lot of money through skins and battle passes, but it clearly wasn't enough. And even for large companies, live service games, which is what Hunt is, have a hard time keeping those games afloat because of the amount of money and time it requires. But for large companies like Bungie, they have enough staff and funds to typically keep multiple groups working on other projects. It's like having a small hole in their 30-foot yacht. They just have the time to sit on the money and other groups to wait for something else to be pushed out or for other content for that game to be made. But for Crytek, it's more like having a hole in a raft. They're not an immediate demise, but if that hole goes unplugged for long enough, more and more people will be tossed overboard to keep that raft above water. Especially when Hunt Showdown has never hit what you would call a commercial success. The all-time peak on Steam has just been under 60,000. While we don't know the console numbers, historically the number on both consoles combined have always been lower than Steam. And the daily peak at this time of recording is only at 17,000, and the all-time sales are over 6 million, but never really having the player count to reflect that. Many players on X I saw contributed to people rebuying the game after being banned for cheating. I play mainly consoles, so cheating isn't something I've ever really run into, but just to make a quick Google search and you can see thousands of people complaining about cheating in Hunt Showdown and how out of hand it's gotten. So while I don't know if this is true or not, I can definitely see this being a thing, especially when you talk about games like CSGO and Rainbow Six Siege. How many people have to rebuy the game because they've been banned, and to just get around the ban, they make a new account and buy the game again. And even if it was true, after 6 million sales and continuously putting out updates, they still can't hold that audience. And while these numbers that we're seeing aren't exactly terrible, because 70,000 and 60,000 max is still a lot of people, but it clearly isn't enough to sustain a live service game, especially when that's that company's only game. Like I said, it's a hole in the boat. It's not a big, sinking ship. It's just a slowly sinking raft. Crytek currently reminds me of another company going through the same thing currently, and that is Wildcard. Both games have re-released on a newer, updated engine. Both slowly release the old maps after reworking them. Both are struggling financially, and both underestimate the amount of time it takes to go into a re-release of a game. However, Wildcard, who is owned by Snail Games, has only 100 employees, and almost all of the community blames the problems that they were having on Snail Games for their mismanagement. Now, some people on X have claimed that mismanagement is also the case with Crytek. This person that I saw talking about and tweeting the original post from Crytek says that in their profile that they were an ex-employee of Crytek, who has said that good hardworking people have been tossed aside, and for what? So the leaders who have caused all the problems keep lining their own pockets? I've asked on X to see what other problems he might have known about, see if they had some insight, but at this time I haven't really received a response. But from all this, it seems quite clear that Crytek is struggling, and even after freezing Crysis 4 development and moving all the staff to Hunt, it doesn't seem to be making them enough money. I don't believe that they're in some immediate danger of shutting down, but doubling down on Hunt and only releasing more skins and battle passes will only continue to lose them more. If they don't switch gears and start pulling in some real cash, that hole in the boat won't go away and they'll just keep losing more employees. I just kind of wanted to talk about this for a moment because it's a game company I've been a fan of ever since Crysis 2 released, and I am genuinely worried about their future as we've seen other game companies who've doubled down on the live service game end in disaster basically. So let me know what you guys think in the comments and what they should do. Thanks for watching.